Hello, June 17th, 2018. A calm Sunday evening wrapped around the edge of Twin Pines Lake in Minnesota. String lights swayed in the breeze above a rustic wooden cabin. Music played softly from a Bluetooth speaker as the last guests raised their glasses in celebration. Camille Hartley had just married the love of her life. She was 27, an emergency room nurse known for her compassion, her laughter, and the way she remembered everyone's birthdays. That day, in a lace-trimmed gown and barefoot in the grass, she looked like something out of a dream. Her smile glowed, her eyes danced. But 36 hours later, Camille would disappear, without a trace. Her friends thought maybe she'd gone for a walk, a breath of air, newlywed nerves perhaps. But when the hours passed and her phone went unanswered, panic began to set in. Her suitcase remained untouched, her passport still tucked inside, her phone still plugged into the wall, her wedding dress hanging on the closet door, but Camille was gone. Matthew Briggs, her new husband, said they'd had a minor argument that night. Something about the flight to Aruba. She was tired, frustrated. He said she needed space. She left around 9:15 p.m., he told police. Just for a walk around the lake. She never came back. By 3:02 a.m., Matthew placed a call to 911. His voice was steady, almost too steady. He sounded concerned, but not frantic. Calm, but rehearsed. She went for a walk and, I don't know, something's wrong, he told the dispatcher. Within an hour, local deputies arrived. They searched the wooded trail. No signs of Camille, no struggle, no screams heard by neighbors. But just beyond the bend in the trail, behind a cluster of pines, her sandals were found. One overturned in the mud, a smudge of red across the strap, drag marks leading off path, and something else, a single pearl earring, the same pair she wore on her wedding night. That was the moment investigators realized. Camille hadn't just wandered off, she had been taken. But by who and why? Police questioned Matthew again. He repeated the story, the argument, her need for space, the trail walk. He even volunteered his phone. That's where things began to unravel. Forensic techs discovered a series of deleted messages from the previous week. One, sent at 2:17 a.m., read, "It's almost done. She won't be a problem." Another said, "Meet me after the ceremony." Same spot. The number had no contact name, a burner phone, purchased in cash 3 days before the wedding. The receipt, found in the back pocket of a pair of Matthew's jeans. When confronted, Matthew claimed the messages were about a work issue, a disgruntled employee, but no such person existed, not at his job, not in his life. And that's when Layla came forward. Lila Peters, maid of honor, best friend since college, the one who helped Camille pick her dress, plan her playlist, hold back tears of joy just hours before the vows. She told detectives something she hadn't told anyone else. 2 nights before the wedding, Camille had whispered something strange. "If something happens to me," she said, "it wasn't random." Lila thought it was just cold feet, wedding stress. But now it sounded like a warning. Investigators dug deeper. What they found shocked them. This wasn't Matthew's first marriage. In 2014, he had briefly been married to a woman named Rachel Vance. Their relationship lasted 5 months, and then Rachel vanished. Declared missing in Colorado. No evidence of foul play. Case closed as a presumed runaway. Until now. When Colorado authorities reopened the file, the parallels were chilling. Rachel's last known location was a mountain cabin. Her phone and purse, left behind. Her sandals, found beside a muddy trail. No sign of her since. The connection was undeniable, but they still had no body, no confession. Just a trail of breadcrumbs and a gut-wrenching silence. Until July 12th. A hiker, wandering off a trail 10 miles from the wedding venue, noticed something in the brush. A shallow mound, discolored earth, the smell of decay. He called the police. Inside that grave, wrapped in a hotel bedsheet, was Camille Hartley. She had been bound with a silk ribbon, the same kind used to tie the wedding bouquet. Her skull fractured, her hands bruised. The autopsy placed her time of death at 10:05 p.m., just 45 minutes after Matthew claimed she went for a walk. He had called 911 5 hours later, too late. When police returned with a warrant, they searched Matthew's garage. There, hidden behind an old water heater, they found Camille's phone, the one that had supposedly been left behind. It had been wiped, but not well enough. A deleted voice memo was recovered, recorded 2 days before the wedding. Camille's voice, soft but shaken. "I don't know what he's planning, but I don't feel safe. If anything happens, please tell my story." On July 17th, Matthew Briggs was arrested and charged with murder. At the arraignment, he pled not guilty, and then dropped a bombshell. He claimed he didn't act alone. He said there was someone else, someone who helped him cover it all up, someone close to Camille. But who? And why? The courtroom was packed, not with strangers, but with people who had once cheered on Camille and Matthew just weeks earlier. People who toasted their love, who danced barefoot on pine needles and believed in the story of two soulmates finally finding each other. Now, those same people sat frozen, staring at a man who claimed he didn't act alone. Matthew Briggs insisted someone helped him, someone close to Camille. But he wouldn't say who. Not yet. Investigators were left with a twisted puzzle. If Matthew was lying, it was a desperate move to deflect guilt. But if he was telling the truth, someone else was still out there, someone walking free. So they went back to the beginning, to Camille's circle, every bridesmaid, every groomsman, every relative who'd stayed at the lake house that night. They retraced guest movements, interviewed caterers, cross-referenced phone data. That's when a quiet anomaly stood out, a name that hadn't drawn suspicion before. Devon Marks, Matthew's best man, a high school friend, someone described as the silent type, with a habit of disappearing into corners during the reception. No one remembered speaking to him after 8 p.m. No one saw him leave, and according to cell tower data, he didn't. His phone stayed at the venue until 3:15 a.m., long after the party ended. But Devon had claimed he left around 10, citing a headache. Security footage proved otherwise. He was caught, briefly, on a trail cam near the edge of the woods. The timestamp, 10:22 p.m. Just minutes after Camille was believed to have been murdered. And he wasn't alone. A second figure trailed behind him. Blurry, shorter, lighter frame, female. At first, the footage was dismissed as a coincidence. Maybe two strangers, maybe party guests wandering. But then, a forensic enhancement brought something horrifying into focus. The second figure was barefoot and wearing a white satin robe, the same one Camille had put on after the reception. She wasn't walking willingly. Her body leaned forward, like it was being pulled. Devon never mentioned seeing Camille that night. When police questioned him again, he cracked. Not fully, but enough. He admitted to following her, said he wanted to make sure she was safe. But when asked what happened after that, he fell silent. Investigators dug deeper into Devon's past. That's when they found the online forums. Under anonymous usernames, Devon had posted dozens of entries about obsessive love, about betrayal, about watching people from afar. One post read, "She doesn't know how perfect we are, but soon she will. Soon she'll have no choice." IP records tied the account to Devon's apartment. A search of his home revealed journals, Sketches of Camille, her name written hundreds of times, a photo of her from the engagement party. Taped to the ceiling above his bed. This wasn't friendship, this was fixation. And that changed everything. Because now, investigators had to ask, was it Matthew who manipulated Devon into killing Camille? Or was it Devon who manipulated Matthew? Or worse, was this something they planned together all along? Camille's mother, Denise, couldn't believe it. She'd watched both boys grow up. Matthew, the clean-cut, golden child. Devon, the quiet boy who always offered to carry the groceries. Now both were suspected in her daughter's murder, and neither one was talking. But then came a break, one no one expected. An anonymous envelope delivered to the local sheriff's department. Inside, a flash drive. No fingerprints, no return address. Just a single video file. The footage was grainy, taken from a hidden camera, possibly in the woods. It showed Matthew and Devon arguing violently. "You said she'd go quietly," Matthew screamed. Devon, "You weren't supposed to hit her. You ruined everything." The argument escalated. Devon shoved Matthew. Matthew lunged back. Then, silence. The two of them stood frozen, staring down at something just out of frame. Camille. The timestamp? 10:08 p.m. Exactly the time the medical examiner estimated her life ended. It was the smoking gun prosecutors needed. But the question remained. Who sent the footage? A whistleblower? A witness? Or someone involved? Devon was arrested that same day, charged with conspiracy and second-degree murder. His mugshot looked empty, hollow, like someone whose reality had snapped long ago. In interrogation, Devon finally spoke. He didn't deny what happened, but what he said next chilled investigators to the bone. He claimed Camille was never supposed to die. "We were going to scare her," he said, "just for a while, make her feel what we felt." When asked what he meant by that, he whispered something almost unintelligible. "She took something from both of us." But he refused to explain. What did Camille take? Why did they want to scare her? Was this jealousy? Revenge?
Something deeper, something darker? That question still echoes unanswered. Because just 2 weeks before trial, Devon Marks was found dead in his cell, hanged with a bedsheet. No note, no confession, no answers. Matthew Briggs remains in prison, awaiting trial. He still pleads not guilty. He still insists someone else was involved. Someone no one's talking about, a third person. But is that real, or another lie, from a man who once vowed to love, protect, and cherish, and instead chose silence, manipulation, and murder? One final name lingers in the shadows, a name whispered only once, in a deleted voicemail. Investigators almost missed. A woman's voice, recognizable, Camille's. "If anything happens to me, look at Lila, Camille's best friend, her maid of honor, the one who first claimed to sound the alarm." But why would Camille say that? What did she mean? And what role, if any, did Lila play in the perfect day that turned into a nightmare? Don't forget to subscribe, share, and follow this story, because what happens next will leave you speechless.